he tells you about how great his signature is. Right? He's not telling you about like actual accomplishments and policies of like, it's like, oh, everybody loves my signature and my paper. Oh, this paper, it's amazing paper. I mean, everyone says it's the best paper, and it's got the gold eye of those idiots who have the bad paper. It's the same thing he was doing with the grass, talking about on and on for like 10 minutes about how he knows grass and he's only using the best grass, and he had grass at his golf courses, and no one's talking about grass. That's not even part of the conversation.
John, he meandered this way for the whole speech. It's an hour long. It's even worse than the UN speech that we covered last week. But there's also dangerous things that he said. I want to go next to how he considers being nominated for the Nobel Prize. And he begins by saying that he stopped 7 wars in 7 months, and if he can solve the one in Gaza, it will be 8 wars in 8 months. And he just mentioned that, and he goes on to say, if this works out.
So if this works out, we'll have 8. 8 in 8 months. That's pretty good. Nobody's ever done that. Will you get the Nobel Prize? Absolutely not. They'll give it to some guy that didn't do a damn thing. They'll give it to a guy that wrote a book about the mind of Donald Trump and what it took to solve the wars. And he'll get the Nobel Prize will go to a writer. No, but let's see what happens. But it'll be a big insult to our country. I will tell you that. I don't want it. I want the country to get it.
Well, I'm expecting the Nobel Prize for my book about the mind of Donald Trump.
What an odd association.
Yeah.
That someone writing about him will get the Nobel Prize. That's not who gets the Nobel Peace Prize.
Right.
It's people who do things that create peace. And so that's a very narcissistic and odd association, isn't it?
It's a narcissistic, demented association. Seriously. Yeah. You know what I mean? In other words, people have dementia. Their personality disorders typically get worse, and more primitive and more disorganized, right? But they're still who they are, but just without the cognitive capacity to contain it and express it and be on topic. So he's talking about, he's telling this lie that he solved 8 wars in 8 months and how great he is and how he should get the Nobel Prize, okay? And then he goes on to say, but of course they won't give it to me, because they don't like me. And they'll probably give it to some nobody who did nothing. Okay, but like you said, then it might be a nobody who did nothing to actually create some peace somewhere on the earth. And they don't give the Nobel Peace Prize to authors. They give it to people who create peace. So the idea that they're going to give it to a nobody, and they give it to somebody who wrote about the mind of Donald Trump, and it's got to somehow circle back to him, right?
It did.
It did. Right. So, but it's a bizarre association, right? It doesn't make any sense. It's so flimsy.
It doesn't make sense. He says it very reasonably.
Yeah.
Like, that's probably what's going to happen. Then you think about it, and it makes no sense.
No sense.
The next excerpt is one that's been